All right, there we go. Do you mind the light that's shining?
No, that's fine.
Let me turn on this here. So this is a handy little recorder I use.
Oh, that is neat.
All right, and I'll just set that right here. Hey guys, this is something I've never had a chance to do, and I want to do it now. And I wanted to introduce Mr. Curtis, who owns this radio I've been working on, this beautiful Zenith, the 10S464. And Curtis, welcome to YouTube.
Well, this is wonderful, and your knowledge of repair and your work is absolutely magnificent.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
The radio means a lot to me because me and my father would listen to the ships at sea during World War II, and we could hear them, and we knew us and learned so much about the life of the people on the ships of sea. The warships, it was just absolutely wonderful. And having this radio for so many years and just having it put away in the middle of nowhere, it means so much to me to be able to pass this on to my grandchildren. And it'll mean as much to them because I'll tell them the stories of what a terrible war and how a lot of men died in these battles. And it's God's gift that this gentleman has taken the time, and his wife is absolutely a doll. and I am very proud to be here and be able to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to tell you, Mr. Curtis, I mentioned that I had already powered this up, and I want to assure you it's going to sound real good. It's a nice sounding radio. I haven't shown the watchers on YouTube yet that first power up, but I'll show them in a few minutes, and they're going to like it. And I will have this radio ready for you by the end of the weekend, I'm pretty sure.
That's just wonderful. I would expect the call and be here to get it.
Well, Mr. Curtis, it's been a pleasure, sir.
It has. Oh, that's nice.
Okay, guys, we are going to do a little initial power-up test of this Zenith, this 10S664. Now, I've already shown you the things I've done under the chassis. For example, I put a fuse in the center tap to protect us against these 6X5s that sit right here, because those things really do like to fail. And I've seen it a couple times, and I've gotten comments from folks that they've seen it too. So we really don't need that to happen. What we're going to do is just basically turn this on and see if we got some radio action going. The volume control is not connected. The band switch there's no knob on there. There's nothing connecting a tuning shaft to this right here. So everything we're going to do here is totally manual. Basically, this is a chassis with the tubes and the tuning condenser on it. I have connected up the wave magnet. You see that right there. And in that box over there is the speaker. And that speaker is connected up using an extension cable that I set up for this purpose. I set that extension cable up because I really don't want to drop a wrench through that speaker while I'm testing the radio. So there it is. It's a good thing. If you do a lot of these sorts of things, you ought to build yourself one of these sets. It's worth having. Let's not wait anymore. Let's go ahead and turn this thing on. The isolation transformer is already on. Let's turn the variac on. Okay, variac is on. Have 0 volts and 0 amps. So let's go ahead and begin to bring the voltage up, shall we? Let's start with about 35 or 45 volts. So let's come on up to about 45 volts. That's usually a good starting point. We have some lights. Now I'm not going to see any filaments for a bit. Alright, let's come on up to about 60 volts, and then we'll let it sit there and soak for just a minute. Now it's at 60 volts. Current is staying pretty well put. It came up a hair, but it didn't come up a lot. And so that's good. I expect that. Yeah, I don't see anything, so we may have a totally dead eye. That's okay. The radio will still work without that eye tube. Alright, so we've been sitting at 60 for a little bit. Let's come on up to 75 volts now. 75 volts. Now we'll probably start to hear some humming from that speaker soon. And when we do, that'll tell us we have some high voltage. I'm starting to hear it too, guys. I don't know, you probably cannot. We are going to come up now to about about 90 volts. We'll hear some sound by then. We're at 85 volts. That's getting pretty loud. Alright, well, we all know about my variac, so we're going to just trust that that's the variac. Let's tune around a little bit now. Hey, check it out! Listen to that, guys. Isn't that beautiful?
Like that with a senior.
Oh yeah.
Kind of waiting in the wing, but you know,
oh yeah, that's what we want.
Hey, we're social. Visit Facebook.com/Truth Network and give us the big thumbs up.
We're doing well. It sounds good.
Segregation and abuse.
Always Mark Levin. What is it with Mark Levin? The guy's always on the radio.
Literacy.
I mean, I love Mark Levin, but come on. That sounds like the Christian Music Network, or Christian, it's K-Love. Nice station, I listen to it all the time. Ah, there we go. I'm like a homing pigeon for this station, man. That's 1370 KSOP, Salt Lake Classic Country, guys. Classic Country. Now, I don't want you to think that all I listen to is country, because that's not so. In fact, I mostly listen to folk and rock. But I love old country. 1430 KSL, or KLO. And there's that cool Mexican station. Sometimes I'll tune that in just to have music in the background. That sounds good. Getting good bass out of that speaker too. I want to give you a look at this, so let's do a quick flyover. Remember, we're keeping this brief. I want to put this thing together, but I definitely wanted to do a test before I did that. There you go. You see I don't have any volume control connected, band switch control, nothing. It's all just manual right now. I have not aligned this. It's coming in pretty darn well for having not been aligned. The tubes are looking real nice. And like I said, it's got this, the wave magnet is there. Alright guys, let's take a look at the speaker over here.
This is for the Lord. The leadership of churches and organizations will answer to God for the way in which the money is spent.
Alright, I'm real pleased with the sound, so we'll call this test a success, and we can go ahead now and get on with building the rest of the radio, putting the rest of the radio together. Like I said, I wanted to show you the mechanical side, how this thing is assembled and disassembled, much more than I wanted to show you the recap of the circuit, because we all know how to do the recap thing. But on these radios, when I looked, I did not see much on how you take them apart and how you put them back together. So that's what I want to focus on. And so I'm going to hit it hard now in the next few days, putting this thing back together. So let's go ahead and, since I don't have a volume control, I can only turn it down by turning down the voltage. So let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, he was sitting up here on the bleachers, and I could feel myself just losing strength.
Okay. There we go, guys. So far so good on this Zenith. We'll get back to work now. Alright, you all ready to do some cleaning? Let's get to it. I'm going to clean this wheel first. Okay, we all know how it's supposed to work. This thing is screwed into the chassis, and then this back part right here forms a pulley. If this were the wall of the chassis, this thing mounts like that. First I have to loosen that set screw. You can use a screwdriver, but sometimes they're hard to get out with a screwdriver. Sometimes they're hard to get out with a nut driver. But this one I was able to get. Okay, so I got that loose. Now, what I'm going to do I'm going to set the nut and the star washer down in the order that I will put them back on. And the same with this washer here that forms the back side of the little string pulley, okay? And we're going to set the rest of this aside while I clean these. There's no rocket science here with doing this, okay? I don't like to work with dirty parts. I'm going to set them down. I always lay them down in the order that I put them back on. That way it's harder for me to lose track. This thing, remember, we have this brass bushing here that is held with the set screw, and then through that bushing is this axle that is formed by this machine screw. Okay, see, there's the screw. Now here's the bushing, and you have to sometimes coax it a little bit to get it out, but it will come out of the wheel. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and clean the wheel so that when I put the bushing back, when I'm ready to put it back, I got a place to put it. Let me tilt my container so that my lacquer thinner kind of runs to one end. There we go. I partly do this so it'll work better, and I partly do it because I don't like to work with dirty parts. All right, you do things your own way, but I think you'll find that radio work is much more pleasant if you work with clean parts. I was the same way with cars. When I would take an old VW engine apart that had been on the road for a while, it was invariably, just heavy with thick grease, thick sticky grease. Well, I don't like to work in that stuff. So the first thing I would do is make sure I got that bugger clean before I did anything else. And there is no greater joy in the world to me than assembling a brand new engine with all fresh parts, because then everything is clean and you don't have to worry about the mess. No science here. Okay, set that aside. Now, these parts are a little more critical here. This little axle, it needs to be clean and smooth. So if you find any burrs on it, you're going to want to smooth those out before you put it back together. It's unlikely you will find any, but you never know if there's been some goober in there with a pair of pliers and messing with it. You might have bunged it up a little. Just get it all clean. Remember, this is a mechanical moving part of the radio, so you want to make sure it's going to move smoothly. Okay, see, nice and shiny. It's going to work great. And then this bushing here. This bushing, that doesn't matter what end goes where. You'll want to maybe put the witness mark back where it was. But beyond that, it's not important. It's not tapered or anything like that. But the key is getting inside of here clean, and that can be hard to do unless you just shove a Q-tip down there, and that's what I do. So I get a Q-tip wet with some lacquer thinner, and I just shove it in the hole like I'm loading a muzzle loader. All right, and you push it through. By the time, look at that mess it comes out with, okay? Now, I'm going to pull the other end through, and that should about clean it. Look at that. Well, okay. That didn't work as well as I wanted it to. There we go. Okay. That's all clean. If you could see down in there, you'd see it's clean. Now, check this out. With that clean, that axle spins as free as anything in there now. Look at that. Nothing to it. That's wonderful. Let's put this bushing in place now. I'm just going to put this little washer on here that forms one side of the little string pulley. I'm going to insert the axle screw in there, right in the end, this end here. Insert it from the face of this pulley in here. Oh wait, before I do that, let me put just a, oops, that's a little too much. Just a touch. I mean, we're talking just a touch, guys, of sewing machine grease, just to make that smooth. And basically what you want is a coating of it on there so that it doesn't corrode. Now when I did sewing machines, I did a lot of that kind of thing. You just put a touch on here, a touch on there, and a container of sewing machine grease would last me a long time. You do not want to get any grease on this brass, but you're going to clean it off before you're done here anyway. Now, you're going to mount this up against the chassis and put this washer, the star washer, and this nut on. Let me show that to you, okay? All right, we're going to mount it right in this hole that sits right here, okay? All you do is you take this whole assembly just like that, and you stick it in the hole here, and you push it up tight against the wall of the chassis. Meanwhile, you take this star washer and you put it on the front side. You put it on the front side, and then you're going to take the nut and put it on the front side. And you're going to tighten it down. Now you take a screwdriver for one side, put a screwdriver on this side here, or you could put a nut driver, it doesn't matter. And you take your 1/4 inch nut driver and you go on the front and you tighten that nut, okay? And you tighten it pretty good. They all wobble a little bit, believe me, this thing is turning so slow it makes no difference, okay? Guys, let me show you something. I'm kind of cheating a little bit. You see that right there? This is a chassis for a 12S465, which, by the way, has virtually the same design in terms of mechanicals as the chassis I'm working on. Now, occasionally I lose my place, even though I've done at least a half dozen 8S463s, which are similar to the 10S464. But occasionally I still lose my way. It happens. You do a lot of radios, you lose track. So occasionally you'll see me leaning over, and what I'm doing is looking in here to make sure I have it right. So I was looking at this pulley here, this one that we just installed, and saying, wait a minute, it does not line up with the tuning condenser pulley way down there. Well, that's because it's not supposed to, all right? It's supposed to line up with that little pulley that's on the tuning shaft. I forgot about that. Oh, and by the way, check it out. There is one of those Radio Days rubber belts that someone that was working on this chassis installed. And they work pretty well. This one's a little bit loose, actually. It might have been that they installed it a long time ago. But you can see the bevel cut here. I didn't do this. Somebody started to install this radio and then gave up on it. I'm going to go through the whole thing again because there's some work in there that I'm not really too tickled about. But I just wanted to let you know that I am cheating, but at least you can count on what I say here because I have something to go by. We have all this shaft stuff to deal with. And so let's just get all the parts out. Remember, I said we have a task bag here. When I first started this, I said we got a task bag. So now we're going to go ahead and open that task bag and get to work on the task. First thing I want to do is clean this volume shaft. Remember, I told you this thing was covered in sticky grease, okay? I want to get that clean. You really don't need to lubricate these because what happens is they ride in those plastic bushings, and they don't really need a lot of grease to keep them turning because they really don't touch the inside wall of that brass tuning shaft at all. Okay, let's set this aside. Now, let's open up this bugger here. This is that brass tuning shaft that I keep talking about, and I keep calling it a shaft. It's really a long cylinder, but I'll call it a shaft anyway because what I'm used to. Right away, I just dumped these parts out here, and I realized I really don't want these little parts sitting out where they're going to get knocked over. So these are all things I don't really need to clean, so I'll put them back in a bag. I use lacquer thinner for everything from cleaning shafts and pulleys to killing spiders. I'm not a cruel person, but I don't like spiders. And if I see a spider in the house, I do whatever I can to dispense with the critter because they're my least favorite critters in the world. And unfortunately, I live in a part of the country where spiders are particularly nasty when you do run across them. Things like black widows and tarantulas I could live without. You know, I'm a member of a group called Toastmasters, where we learn to speak publicly and we learn to you know, present ourselves in a good way. And we just practice public speaking and public presenting and even some leadership. One of the things we tell each other all the time is stop beginning your sentences with so or and. I do it all the time, and it drives me nuts when I edit my videos and I see myself doing it. One end of the cylinder still has that plastic bushing in it that I took out of the other end, okay? And I'm going to try and keep that bushing there. Ooh, see, look at that. That brass bushing got away from me and didn't make it back in the bag. That's not good. Going in there. Bad bushing. Bad bushing. Now I want to show you something that broke my heart. Okay. I just got off the phone with the owner of this radio and told him I'll have it done this weekend. And that was before I noticed this. And I don't know why I didn't notice this when I was taking the radio apart. I should have. But you didn't see me say anything about it. This here is the band switch lever. See this pot metal cylinder here with the bushing inside? This cylinder is not complete. There's actually supposed to be a little flat arm that comes off of this cylinder and then a linkage attached to it that connects to the actual band switch shaft. Let me show you what I mean. Here we are looking at that same 12S475 that I mentioned, okay? And let me peel off this tape and I'll show you. See? It's got the same band switch design with the linkage that's supposed to be there, and then the lever that mounts on the band switch shaft itself. Well, guess what, guys? The one on this radio I have that I'm working on, this part is broken right here, and that is a very common problem with these radios. The only reason that people are able to keep these radios going is that they made so darn many of these that there are parts around. They're getting scarce, but there are parts around. Well, I just got off the phone with the owner of this radio and said I'll have her done this weekend. And there's a situation they have there, a personal situation that I won't really go into much, except to tell you that it's pretty urgent that I get this radio done as quickly as I can. I actually dropped another project for a while I got this one done. It's just a kindness I'm doing for these people because they have a family situation that requires that they get the radio back as soon as they can. So I'm trying to get this done, and we don't have time to go on a search for this part. I know if I search, I'll find one. I know eventually I'll find one. And I probably have a radio or two buried in my stash somewhere that has them. But I don't know where they are, and I'm not sure about that part. But I know I'd find one if I searched. Well, I don't have time to search. So what am I going to do? I'm going to scrounge it off of this 12S475. I am going to restore this radio someday, but that someday is a long ways off. And I'll find this part between now and then. So I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to go ahead and do the unthinkable. Gosh, I keep stealing from my own parts, but you know, this radio needs to be restored for these people. And I'm going to steal this part and I'll replace it when I can. Sometimes you got to do that, guys. You got to steal from Radio Peter to pay Radio Paul. Okay, let me real quickly show you how this comes off of here. So you've got a couple knobs. They have to come off first, obviously. These knobs are notorious for distorting because people over tighten these screws and the plastic itself wasn't that good. I think it's like tenite. Anyway, so you get those off of there. The good thing is that Renovated Radio sells replicas of these knobs, so it's not like you can't get them. You can get them. You know, I don't know how John from Arkansas has worked with one hand for so long in his videos because I just can't do it. I'm not skilled enough to do that. There we go. Okay, great. I was having trouble getting this lever off. Now I got a lever. Okay, how do we get this guy off? Remember I said there are two of those goofy clips on every radio? Well, here's the other one. You see it? You see that clip right there? Yeah, that's the little bugger I got to get off without losing. Once I get that off, there's a set screw right here. Okay, on this lever. Now remember, we're looking at this upside down. So when you're working on your radio, this is likely to be facing up. Okay, the flat on this D, this half moon right here, the flat faces up when this radio is sitting right side up. So you're going to loosen this screw, and you're going to take whatever method you have developed, and you're going to get that clip out of there and not lose it. Okay, I need you to promise me you're not going to lose that clip. Because if you lose that clip, you're screwed, and then I'll look bad for having not told you not to lose that clip. All right, so we agree you're not going to lose it. Great. So you're going to get that clip off of there and do what? Right, not lose it. Put that clip away and slide this thing off. That's all there is to it. And then I'm going to take mine and take it over to that radio over there and install it. All right, so here we go. All right, might as well, since tape is rolling, I might as well just do this in front of you. That way you can see if I screw it up, you can get a good laugh at me. I am going to put this towel under here to catch that little bugger right there when it comes loose. And why is that? because I'm not going to do what? That's right, I'm not going to lose it. I'm beating that into your minds because it's important. Okay, now I hope I don't stab myself. Ooh, that was close. Ouch. Look at that, guys. Look at that right there in my hand. I made it. I got it right there in my hand. You see that? Yeah, I didn't lose it. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to put that away right away so I don't lose it. I keep doing that, I'm going to chase everybody off the channel and nobody will be watching. After I took off that little clip, there's a little thin washer right here. That washer will need to go back on, so I'm going to put that washer over here in the bag too. Okay. Okay, so now this part here is ready to come off. But don't pull on it because these will break off. This is like a balsa wood model airplane, guys. Be really, really gentle with it. I am going to try and loosen this thing one-handed. John, I got to hand it to you, man. I didn't know how hard this was watching you all those years. Okay, that's loose. Great. Great. Okay, so that slides off of there. Okay, just let it dangle. And then just slide this puppy off. Nice and easy like. Nice and easy like. And it comes off of there, okay? There you go. Now, I have to make a promise to this radio that I will return a like part as soon as possible to this radio. Now, remember that bushing I taped to the chassis on the radio I'm working on? There it is right there. It wanted to come out with that part. So I am going to put a piece of tape over this before too much time passes to make sure that stays there. You notice that there is a bushing at each end, okay? That bushing's got to be there. That bushing's got to be there. And if you run a screwdriver down through it, you can feel that halfway through or 2/3 of the way through, it's split. There's actually one pushed in each end. Just if it doesn't come out, just leave it alone. And it doesn't need lubrication. Don't oil this stuff, man, because all you're going to do is make a mess. You don't need oil. This does not need oil. I'm going to get smart and put this right back on the radio I have been working on, okay? Well, wait a minute. I can't do that till I put that shaft on. But I'm going to go ahead and put these two parts that I care a lot about into a baggie. This part needs just a little bit of cleaning, so let's go ahead and do that. Now this part is visible, and I've seen people shine these up because they're brass. They look terrible when they're done, when that's done. Don't do that. Just leave the patina alone. It looks much more natural on the radio when you leave it alone. Even if the radio has been refinished, it looks better. If any of you, by the way, if any of you has a 10S463, I'm sorry, a 10S464, an 8S463, a 12S475, or any radio that uses this arrangement, and you have a spare one of these that you'd like to sell, please send me a private message because I would like to buy it. In fact, I'd like to buy more than one. I've got another radio that is missing when I bought it that way, and I'd like to buy two of them, one for this radio over here, and one for the radio that's in my stash that's missing one. Just let me know if you have one, and we'll work out a fair price. I'm not trying to get a bargain or get a freebie from anybody. I like paying a fair price for everything I get, so let's work something out. This, maybe you do want to put a little bit of lubrication on the inside of these two halves of this, and the reason for that is this is pot metal, which has got aluminum in it, and this on the switch is steel, and they will you will get some bimetal corrosion going on there. And so I'm not talking about put a lot in there, a little bit, okay, just a little bit. And then you just slip this on there and you work it back and forth, and that makes that a lot nicer. All right, now I got that on there. I've got this bushing in the end here. Remember, I put tape over it? So I'm going to go ahead and present this brass shaft out to that bushing now. What I'm going to have to do is loosen this. Before I do anything else, let me show you a trick. Remember I said we want to put this on before we get too far, but the last thing I want to do is get that dirty or greasy. So you're going to think I'm goofy, but you try this. This works. Just try it. You take your package, your Adams manufacturing package. All right. You go ahead and close her up tight. Tape it closed. Now, you take a screwdriver and you savagely, I mean savagely, poke a hole in it. Ugh. Okay, now there's a hole in there. Don't cut the belt wire. Don't be that savage. Now you just slide that on there and check it out. It's in place. It isn't going anywhere. You didn't forget it, but you're also not going to get it dirty. Now, if you have to cut some of the paper off, you know, you suit yourself. In fact, I might do that. Okay, stop complaining. I'll make it easier to deal with. You know, some people aren't happy unless it's perfect. I'll put another hole even in there, one that's in the center. How's that? So the thing turns completely concentric. There we go. All right, now I got that in there, and I'll just tear that paper off when the time comes to present the belt to the pulley. All right, so we got that in place. Excellent, excellent. Okay, we're going to find that set screw. Here's one right here, and we're going to put it on the grabber screwdriver. We're going to go ahead and get that set screw started there, okay? These things cross thread easier than you think. So you want to be real gentle about it. And just bring it down to where it touches and then back off a half a turn so that, you know, you can still move the pulley. Next step is I want to go ahead and put this bushing on there so this has something to ride in when I get ready to push it through. So I'm going to take this bushing. Remember the fat side, there is a fat side right there by my fingernail. The fat side, it goes toward the power switch. And the skinny side goes toward the front of the radio so that you can pop it in like that. There we go. It doesn't always pop in real easily, so you want to be kind of gentle with it and don't hurt it. All right, now we have to, it's going to get tough now because we have to put this guy on, okay? This guy's heavy. So remember the hollowed out part of it goes toward the front of the radio. Slide this big brass cylinder back a little bit, and then you kind of turn it a little as you're pushing it back through that wheel, and that'll help it. Now you're going to go ahead and push this cylinder right here, this brass shaft. Go ahead and push it through that bushing and try to make sure that bushing doesn't pop out. Remember now that you have a thin flat washer that goes up against that bushing, okay? And that clip will ride against the flat washer and not against the bushing, okay? And it's sized just so it fits over that shaft, all right? I don't know if you can see this, guys. I'm trying not to block it. Okay, there you go. Now it's okay to go ahead and push that home a little bit, and you're going to put a clip there, right there. You're going to put one of those clips. Yikes. I forgot to do something, guys. This you will do. You will forget to do things. So go ahead and take that flat washer out. Remember the little hammerhead bushing, right? This is so that the volume shaft can have something to ride in. So I'm going to want to install that. So you get your hands on that little hammerhead bushing any way you can. I like to use my little serrated pliers. I don't squeeze. And then I'm going to come down here, find the end of that shaft and just get it started and then push it home, okay? Now I push it home. Now if I come up here against this power switch coupler, then that thing won't come out while I'm working with it, okay? Sometimes I forget the order things go. It'll go on fine. Okay, but it's better if you put that washer on then the bushing, so you sort it out for yourself. Now I'm going to take this clip. Now this is when these little pliers are wonderful, man, because they get you started. And once you get it started, you just take a drift and you tap it home and it works great. So you take this clip, okay, and you see it fits. Yikes. it fits right here in this slot. Okay, but it doesn't fit in there easily. It takes some effort. You got it doesn't want to go there. You got to coax it to go there. The slot there, this little clip has to go down in that slot. We all have our own ways of doing this, but most of them involve cussing, so I'll edit that out if I cuss. I'm going to get that started the best I can, and then I'm going to tap it home with a drift. Aye. Try to get centered on that bushing, or on that clip. Close, not quite there, but close. Looky there, guys. Now all I have to do, I've got it most of the way. Now all I have to do really is get on it and squeeze. That, my friends, is a thing of beauty. Now that's not going anywhere, okay? Now that that is installed, we have to get this shaft in there, okay? And if I remember right, the short end goes here. Let me look here. Yep, I do remember right. Good golly, I didn't even have to check the video, but I had the video in case I needed it. So you put it in this end over here, and you go right through that plastic bushing, okay? And you push it all the way till it gets to the end, and then you kind of gently wiggle it around till it gets through the bushing, and then you're gonna wiggle it till you get it, and you'll feel it when it goes home into this coupler, okay? There is a flat on it. That flat is in the same relative position as the flat on the other end, so you get the flat on the other end so it's facing up if the screw is facing up, and you go ahead and turn that set screw home. All right, so far we're doing well, right? Let's go ahead and mount this. So I'm going to tear this paper off. There we go. And looky here, guys, it's like magic. It's like, my gosh, it's like a bald eagle emerging from the egg. It's a miracle. We've got a belt, and it goes around the idler wheel like so. And oh no, looky there, guys. Now I haven't yet tightened down the flywheel, so it's not spinning the way it normally would. But that's okay. And like I said, this is, you don't have to be picky. The thing you want to worry about as far as positioning this goes is what's around it, what's it going to bump into. So just make sure, because it doesn't matter where it sits on the shaft for it to do its job. So just make sure it's clear of any obstacles, and go ahead and tighten it down. Don't tighten one all the way before you tighten the other some, because then it won't be true. Remember, you're going into brass. You don't have to be like the bionic man as you tighten it. Now check it out. See? Nice, huh? Nice, isn't it? Yeah, that's what we're after right there. Ah, I forgot to tighten that. You got to tell me these things. I leave that loose partly because I'll turn this a few times to true up that belt, and then I tighten it once it's true. And that belt, because this wheel is cocked a little bit, will want to ride on one side of the pulley, but it won't hurt it. I've never worked on one of these that wasn't that way. Okay, so let's tighten this down. There I go with so again. I don't do that at Toastmaster meetings, though. All right, now check it out. See? They squeak a little. Let them squeak. It's better than grease getting in there, bunging them up in 2 or 3 years, okay? Let them squeak. It won't hurt anything. It just lends it a nice vintage sound. All right, so let us let us go ahead and install the band switch lever now. This is pretty simple arrangement. Nothing to it really. Remember that this guy here has got these bushings. It sits on this shaft, okay? And you're also going to have this linkage that goes across over to here, to the band switch itself. And then you have this lever on that side. So obviously it's going to sit on the radio like this. Okay? Don't push this all the way home before you put this on, because you'll be tempted to try and bend this to put this on, and that's when you'll break that. You push this home until this touches here, and then you get this aligned before you go any further. Oh, and by the way, this goes down. It doesn't go up like that. That won't work. That'll get it broken. This goes down like so, okay? If the radio is right side up, this part here is facing down. Right now it looks up to you, but it's down on as far as the radio is concerned. Okay, put that on there. You want to tighten this. Okay, you don't want that coming loose while you work on the other side. Just get on there with your little... By the way, the size on those screws, this is a 3/16. This is a Craftsman. One of my Craftsman drivers is a 3/16. That's what fits these little screws. Don't over tighten it. See? Now this bushing always wants to come out. Shove that bushing back in there. There's going to be another flat washer that goes out here and another clip. I have another flat washer and another clip. Okay. Now this is what's going to make this whole thing fit properly, nice and tightly. Okay. Without a lot of play. Is the two clips are spaced such that with the washers and everything in place, and those two clips will keep it from sliding back and forth and feeling clunky as you operate it. That's why you don't want to lose parts. You don't want to lose bushings. You don't want to lose washers and all that stuff, because it'll feel clunky if all those parts aren't in there. And remember, it's the clunky radios that get thrown in the trash. Okay. Now, I have learned when I can, you might find this hard to see, I don't know. I've learned that when I can do it, I'll use 2 pairs of pliers to get started. Yikes. These are tricky clips, man. You may be able to find an E-clip that's the right size. I've never found one that fits exactly. Alright, so I'll squeeze a little bit. Now that's it sort of started. There we go. Like magic, man. Like magic. By the way, I always put the knobs on for things like alignment. So there we go. Savvy? Cool. All right. That part's done. Now we will restring the tuning condenser once we get that, once we get it turned right side up. All right, guys, I'm tired. So let's wrap this thing up. This has been a long video. I'm going to give you a little sneak preview as I talk here of what's going to come next time. Obviously, we're going to be hitting the dial string, and that's always fun. A lot of people are intimidated by dial strings, and the Zenith dial string is not my favorite, but it's totally doable, man. Anybody can do it. So we are going to close down for today, and I'm going to get caught up on some bench work. So on a beautiful Sunday afternoon from your Western Outpost in Salt Lake City, August the 27th, this is Michael, and that's all for now.